Hi then guys, nothing fancy today. This is literally just the start this series on basic knots. Now I'm not trying to bamboozle anybody with fantastic knots that are going to take weeks to learn. These are very simple knots that you can use in everyday use, especially if you're entering the bushcraft and survival world. So the first one we're going to cover, this video that's coming up, is the overhand knot. Simplest knot you will ever learn. And chances are you already know it. And I guarantee that you've used it a fair few times in your life already. What I've done and what I'm going to do in this video is actually show you a couple of different ways of using it that might be more versatile for you, and you actually think about different ways of using it yourself and splitting it down into nice simple chunks. If you like the video guys, please put a little comment on it either on Facebook or on the YouTube channel. I hope you enjoy it. Cheers. Then guys, quick video on a very simple knot, the overhand knot. Not loads of talking, just loads of doing. If you don't get what I'm doing, if you think I'm going too fast when I'm actually demonstrating these, I'll try and go as slow as I can. But just literally stop the video, rewind it, and crack on again if you want to get along and practice afterwards. So a very simple and effective knot is the overhand knot, and it's probably one that you already use just for quick and ease of tying something together. So done very simply. Take your paracord, can be done with paracord, nylon rope, climbing rope, whatever you want to use. But the loose end comes underneath, comes back through the hole it's created, and tie it off. It's as simple as that, guy. There's no dark art. It is the simplest knot you will ever do when tying a knot in a piece of cord. It can be used as a stopper knot as it is there, but I'm going to show you a couple of different ways you can actually use this. So as well as doing it in a single bit of string like that, what we can also do is use it to create a closed loop. Now I've got a reasonable size bit of paracord here. I probably wouldn't use this size of paracord to put a lanyard onto a knife or onto a racing spoon. A racing spoon, if you don't know what one is something we use in the military that normally keep in one of our top pockets of our combat jackets. You haven't got to go hunting around when you get a chance for some scram. So we attach it using a bit of paracord to our buttonhole on our jackets, so it's always there ready, available if we need it. So I haven't got a racing spoon on me. What I've got is a Second World War clasp knife that I'm actually sorting out and restoring at the moment. So I thought I'd grab it and just show how it works. So we've got a loop on the end. Now to make a closed loop, a couple of different ways of doing it. We're going to use the whole of the paracord for this type. So we get our two ends here. And all we're going to do is flip it over the top, back through the hole we created, keeping hold of the two ends and pull it nice and tight. Now, you can adjust this once it's on there. Think to yourself that's a bit too much and tighten it up. Pull the cord through and there you go. There's a closed loop on some paracord. To use it as a lanyard, it's as simple as that. Any bit of cord will do. It just gives you a closed loop within seconds. Now the way that works, get your clasp knife, put it through the metal loop on the clasp knife, get your two ends, put your overhand knot in them, take it right up to the end, and there you go. There's a closed loop on either a racing spoon or a knife, just to be able to keep it. Then you can obviously loop it through your buttonhole or your belt loop on your trousers, just to make sure if your knife or whatever you've attached it to falls out your pocket, you're always going to keep it attached to you and you'll feel it dangling around and you're not going to lose it. So taking that one out there, another one we can do to make a closed loop will be at the far end. So we've still got a paracord here, but this time we will make a closed loop using the looped end, so the closed end. Again, very simple. We've got a closed end here, over the top, back through, and there we go. A nice little closed loop at the end. Again, this one could also be put in with an open end at the opposite end. So you've actually got two closed loops. This one could be used for going through your trouser loop, and this one will just be the actual lanyard part itself. If you loop that through the hole, that is what's going to be attached to your trousers or your buttonhole on your jacket. So it's not going to go anywhere. Can be made very simply, as I've just shown you there, in minutes. Not even minutes, seconds, to make an overhand knot, to give yourself a closed loop. So another way we can use this is by what we call a fisherman's knot. This is attaching two bits of paracord or two ends like what we've got here. It's just a little bit of a nicer way. It looks a bit prettier when you're making a lanyard or something like that, but can also be used very well with you attaching two bits of cord together. So we've got our two ends here. Two ends come over, and all you're going to do again is a simple overhand knot. So you're going to come over the top, back over both bits like so, and pull it through. So all you've done is a simple overhand knot, but it is actually going over the other loop. So if you pull that through, it comes all the way through. As you can see, all we've got is a very simple, again, as we started with, an overhand knot. So same again, we've got our two ends, goes over the top, back over the top of both of them, and through the middle. There's our first overhand knot, or the left hand side of a fisherman's knot. All we're going to do is exactly the same on this side. Over the top, back over both, and pull it through. And there we have two overhand knots. Now if you pull them together, you give yourself a nice little pretty knot that gives you, again, a closed loop that you can use as a lanyard. Now you can make these ones a little bit shorter and do a little bit of fiddling around so these come nice and tight, and if you don't want to ever undo it again, obviously you can melt its paracord, you can melt into that just to make it nice and sleek. But what you want in reality is just the ability to be able to open and close. Now taking that out and then going one step further on it can make it again a little bit prettier. Give yourself a little bit extra cord as you're going through, and this time we're going to double it over. So going to go the same again, going to go over the top as the overhand knot, but this time you're going to go over twice. So once, twice, you're going to go through both loops like so. Pull it nice and tight. Tighten it up a little bit, make it look nice and pretty like so. The other side you're going to do exactly the same. Over once, over twice, back through the loops, pull it up, tighten it up, make it look nice and pretty, pull them together, and there you've got a nice pretty little knot. Again, you can fiddle around with it and get rid of the tails that are there. Failing that, you can literally put an overhand knot in the tails and use it as a stopper knot. These ones are a little bit short. Little overhand knot, and then you can cut the tails off and just melt them in, just to give yourself a stopper knot. But to be honest, this is never, the tighter you pull this, the longer it's going to last. It's just going to get tighter and tighter. Now I've not put a lot of pressure on that, but you can see there it's starting to get a little bit tight. So taking these out again, nice and simple to undo. This one I pulled a little bit tighter. So a couple of different ways of using an overhand knot. Now what we can do as well as that is create a loop in a single bit of cord to be able to create a loop that is actually movable. This one here, we get our paracord, do an overhand knot, making a loop, and pull it back on itself. What this creates is a snare type effect. So it will actually move and pull to create it nice and tight. Now this will have a tendency in paracord to slip out. So what you can do with this one, make it a little bit bigger, give yourself a little bit more of a tail on the end. We still make it exactly the same. This time, you can put a stopper knot in the end. Pull it nice and tight. So that way, it's not going to go anywhere. So like I said, guys, can be used for a variety of things, all stemming from a very simple overhand knot that the chances are you already know. Over, under. So to summarise, very, very versatile knot that's very easy to learn. Thanks for watching, guys.